When we think of underdog stories, one movie that comes to mind is Disney's Cool Runnings. The 1993 film captured audience with its heart, humor, and a ragtag team of Jamaican athletes giving their all at the Winter Olympics. But what if I told you the real story is even more remarkable than the film? Today, we're getting into the true story behind Cool Runnings, straight from one of the original team members, Devon Harris, who says Hollywood may have missed some of the best parts. Let's see the details of the real Cool Runnings story and imagine how the film might have looked if it stayed true to the facts.
Devon Harris, Michael White, and Chris Stokes.
Imagine being born and raised in a warm Caribbean nation known for its tropical beaches, reggae music, and Olympic sprinters. The last place you'd expect to end up is sliding down a frozen bobsled track at over 80 miles per hour. Yet, this was the path for Devon Harris and his team, who went from the Jamaican heat to icy runs in the 1988 Winter Olympics.
Is he pride I see power? I see a badass mother who don't take no crap off nobody.
Yes!
Yeah.
The 1988 Jamaican bobsled team was born out of an unusual inspiration. It wasn't an Olympic dream that drove the idea. It was actually a local pushcart derby, a popular race event in Jamaica. Two American businessmen living in Jamaica, George Fitch and William Maloney, attended a derby race and thought, if Jamaicans can race pushcarts down a hill, maybe they could also succeed in bobsledding. It was an idea so bizarre, it just might work. This strange origin story sets the stage for a film that would have focused more on chance encounters and wild ideas rather than the fictionalized drama we saw in Cool Runnings.
That was good. It was, for my first movie, and the fact that I wanted to bobsled since the Lake Placid Olympics in New York.
The movie shows sprinters who failed to qualify for the Olympics, leading them to bobsledding as a second shot. However, in real life, Fitch and Maloney looked to the Jamaica Defense Force first, not track stars. They knew they needed individuals who were physically fit, disciplined, and up for any challenge, qualities the military cultivates. This approach to recruitment was one of practicality, rather than a last-ditch effort for former sprinters. Enter Devon Harris. He was a 22-year-old lieutenant in the Jamaican Army.
That's an order. You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Who had already attempted to qualify as a middle distance runner for the 1984 Summer Olympics. Harris, skeptical at first, found himself on the team through a bit of persuasion from Colonel Ken Barnes, who saw the potential in his disciplined young soldiers. The men trained on anything they could find running drills, using a makeshift sled next to a soccer field at the Army barracks. The training was tough and unglamorous, a far cry from the underdog montage sequence we saw in the movie. If the film had shown these humble beginnings, it would have highlighted their dedication and the gritty side of their journey. In the movie, the characters are shown struggling to fund their Olympic dream, selling kisses and even hawking vehicles to raise money. While this adds drama, it's not quite how things happened. The team actually received significant support from Fitch and the Jamaican Tourism Board, who believed in the bobsled team's ability to showcase Jamaica on an international stage. Imagine how different Cool Runnings would be if it had shown these businessmen fighting to convince sponsors that Jamaican bobsledders were a good investment. This would have emphasized the team's role as ambassadors for Jamaica and the support they had at home. The reality that 3 of the team members were from the military and were backed by well-connected sponsors makes their story more intriguing. They weren't just scrappy outsiders, they were athletes who had to rise to the occasion, supported by a few people who believed Jamaica could leave a mark in winter sports. This more nuanced take would add depth to the story, showing that they weren't isolated underdogs, but rather a symbol of national pride.
The crew were still trying to get themselves settled and set as they went into the first bend.
In Cool Runnings, there's a scene where the team climbs into freezers to get used to the cold. This humorous moment emphasized the contrast between their tropical homeland and the icy tracks they would soon face. But in reality, the Jamaican team wasn't entirely new to the cold. Harris had been stationed in the United Kingdom as part of his military service, where he'd already had a first-hand experience with freezing temperatures. By the time they arrived at Lake Placid, New York, for their initial training, they knew how to handle it, though the icy blast still felt like a punch in the face, according to Harris. If the movie had included these details, it would have portrayed the team as tougher and more adaptable. They weren't completely out of their depth, but they were learning a new sport in challenging conditions. This resilience was a key part of their journey that the film could have amplified, showing how grit and adaptability took them from training on grass and concrete to handling the thrill and danger of a real bobsled track. One of the movie's most dramatic moments is the crash scene during the Olympic race, a defining moment for the team in both real life and the film. But the actual crash was even more intense. Dudley Stokes, the driver, had injured his shoulder during training. As they hurtled down the track, he lost control of the sled, which tipped over and skidded to a stop. Harris described it as flashes of white, the scrap of metal on ice, and the smell of burning fiberglass, a chaotic and terrifying ordeal. Instead of the slow-motion triumph walk to the finish line portrayed in the film, the real team pushed their sled over the line with bruised egos and shaken spirits. But that crash fueled their determination. Harris had said it was the lowest moment, but it inspired them to return to the Olympics again and again, proving that they were more than just a one-time story. Including this perseverance in the film would have shown the team's true dedication to the sport, beyond the excitement of a Hollywood-style ending. After the 1988 Olympics, the team continued to push boundaries. Harris, in particular, returned to the Olympics twice more as captain of the Jamaican bobsled team. This wasn't just about competing in the Olympics once and fading into the background. No, it was about building a legacy.
The same team we saw yesterday.
Where did these guys come from?
In the years following their Olympic debut, Harris took on the role of a motivational speaker, author, and philanthropist, eventually founding the Keep On Pushing Foundation to help children in Jamaica escape poverty and pursue their dreams. Imagine if the movie had closed with a glimpse of this legacy, how these young men didn't just make history once, but continued to inspire others long after the initial spotlight faded. It would have added a layer of depth, showing that sometimes the real story has a staying power that Hollywood endings lack. For all the liberties Hollywood took with their story, the real team has always looked at Cool Runnings with love. Harris said he initially worried about how Jamaica would be depicted, fearing cliches and stereotypes, but in the end, he was relieved that the film captured the spirit of the team, even if it missed the exact details.
Pride!
Pride. Right.
Power!
And more inspiring than fiction.
A badass mother who won't take no crap off of nobody! Again!
Harris and his teammates found humor in the exaggerated scenes, from the freezer escapades to the fictional coach's wild personality. Their appreciation for the film's message and enduring popularity shows how they embrace their place in pop culture, while recognizing the distance between fiction and reality. This balance between Hollywood's vision and their actual experiences and love for the story itself. Cool Runnings may have been loosely based on the truth, but it sparked interest in their journey. And, in a way, that's what really mattered.
Thanks a whole heap, man.
Remember, this doesn't mean that I like you. You understand?
Be sure to thank.
In the end, Cool Runnings gave audiences a taste of an underdog story, but the real events could have made for an even richer, more layered narrative. Devon Harris and his teammates went beyond the expected, turning a wild idea into a legacy that still inspires today. Their story reminds us that sometimes the real journey is stranger and more inspiring than fiction. Thanks for watching, everybody, and make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Director's Cut for more awesome content like this.